Hey there, it is Faith Talk Live. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
You know, Dan, not many folks want to actually come back on the show,
I
but
know.
Craig Smith said before we went live, he enjoyed himself, and he's back, and we're so glad. Craig Smith, his new devotional, Awake in the Dawn, and because this is so cool, not only to use the devotional, but 100% of the book's profits go to Village to Village, a nonprofit that serves Uganda, Thailand, El Salvador, and Arkansas. Craig, thanks for coming back.
Oh, thank you guys so much for having me back. Appreciate it so much.
What kind of trouble have you been in since we talked to you last? That's what we want to know right off the top.
That's the same thing that my wife always asks me. That must be it. Well, since we talked, it has been a good unfolding process, and I think I would start by this. Money is not the goal unless I have money that I'm directing toward missions and our kids. And from the time that the book was released until to date, we are somewhere. This is just a God thing because I'm just grateful. I'm just very, very grateful. But we're somewhere between a little over $250,000 and a little under 300,000 that has been given to missions. And that's just for an organization as small as ours. We're super excited. It's allowing us a lot of flexibility. And then the other thing that's kind of been fun is one day somebody sent me the comments from the devotional itself. So one day somebody sent me a comment in the emails early in the morning. So it was actually out of the country. So I read it the following morning for me, evening for them. And they were just talking about the depth of writing spiritually of that particular daily devotion. So I got the book, kicked it open, and started reading it. And I thought, man, I'm just not this smart. So I went in the house, and my wife she sits at the countertop and kind of reads and prays. And so I was sharing the story I just shared with you with her. And she opened up the book and she read the devotion for that day. And she said, to encourage her husband, she said, "You know what? You're just not capable of writing this kind of stuff."
She definitely has the spiritual gift of encouragement, doesn't she? Wow.
Well, that is so good. Craig Smith, Awake in the Dawn. I don't know what to say. AwakeInTheDawn.com. That is funny. I know she meant that as a tongue in cheek. So I got to know, you've mentioned this before, how God is doing some things that, you expected this devotion to do well, and you wanted to help missions, but to the magnitude that it has, when you sit down with your team, your board, or whomever you've put together to take care of those folks from village to village, what's been their response? They've got to be surprised as well, in a good sense.
They really have been, Rick. It's you just don't know. And again, just to be honest, because I think sometimes we try to make things look a little larger than they maybe really are. My entire last 20 years of ministry, I've been in ministry almost 50 years, but the last 20 years were not on my bucket list necessarily. And the guys that I've walked with, there's 12 guys that I hang out with on our board, and a lot of them I've known for decades, literally. And we bring the younger guys on so that somebody has to think on the team, so we bring the younger guys in.
Let them do all that work.
So it's just been an amazing thing. We do sit back and go, this is not something of our making. We know we cannot change the world. We're just I'm trying to think of a good analogy. I should have one, but I don't. Remember the coloring books where you would, as a kid, the outline was already there. Mm-hmm. You just kind of colored in the spaces. And I think I don't want to get in your all's area because I won't function very well coloring outside the line, but I sure want the end of my life where everything that's outlined for me to do and influence for the King and his kingdom. Man, I really do want that filled in. And I think that's the spirit of all the guys that are working with me. It's just whatever the region, the area, spiritually, geographically is for us to represent Jesus in the most genuine way that we can. That's the space we want to fill. So we're all a little taken back because we know I'm not trying to overdo the humility thing, but we know what we're not, and we're not very much, but we're excited.
Craig, tell us about, for those who may not have seen the last time that we talked to you, tell us about Village to Village and the proceeds from the book that go to help out Village to Village, what you guys do.
Well, my ultimate goal before I hang up my spurs, as the old Westerns used to say, is I hope that we are able to establish 4 locations that we call Hope Village. We now have the 4 locations that Rick mentioned earlier. The one that we've been at the longest is in Uganda. So what we felt we should do was to find an area. So we're in an area called Ganda, outside the capital of Kampala, Uganda. We started with about a dozen to 20 children there in a small dirt hut. And the goal was to find an indigenous pastor that had a heart for his country. And we found that guy, built a friendship and relationship with him. And essentially coming up underneath him, instead of us trying to say, here's the way we do American Christianity, how can we just take the principles and characters and values of Jesus and help you in your culture? And he really had a heart for the children. He said, I think the way to reach my region is to reach out to the kids. Mm-hmm. So we work with children at risk there. We've been there for 11 years. We now have 2 3-story buildings, and that would be defined in third world fashion, not something that you guys have in downtown Atlanta. Mm-hmm. But we have 300 students, and it's been over a decade now. So we've seen some of the children that would come off of the street, that we get out of human trafficking, that didn't have their futures, for the most part, were pretty hopeless. And through just attempting to love them as Christ would, attempting to give them the tools, the equipping tools that they need, now we have some of those children that are older, and they're pouring into the younger kids at this point in time.
That's great.
And then we actually have been, since we last talked, because of the just generosity of people reading the devotion and going, oh, these guys I'm just going to give to what they're doing. We've really been able to up our game in Uganda. We have some of our teachers were walking to the school and to Hope Village there, maybe sleeping literally on the classroom floors with a little pallet. So we've been able to construct some small living quarters for some of the staff there. We are raising our own food, and we have some chickens that are on their way for the kids to raise, learn how to. It's just, we're trying to give them spiritual skills, but also realizing that Jesus said we're supposed to love the Lord with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. So everything that makes up our being, we're going, man, let's just try and give them a chance in all those areas. So that's what we're doing.
Oh, good stuff. Craig Smith, Awaken the Dawn is the devotional. Get that devotional. It's a good devotional. awakenthedawn.com. And when you pay for it, 100% of the book's profits go to Village, and that's what we're talking about. Craig, we got to take a break here in just a few, but here we are, January 2023. Wow. You talked about somewhere between $250,000, $300,000 for Village to Village so far. What does the rest of 23 look like for you guys? What are the plans?
Well, we are in the northeastern section of Thailand, ministering to children there. We've been there for 2 years. Our team just came in for a couple of weeks and did just that, just prayed and said, what does it look like? In that area of the country, we're hoping to expand our outreach to the children, provide some facilities and materials for them there. Now, we only have probably 30, 35 kids at this point. But modern missiologists say from the time that you introduced the concept, the person of Jesus Christ, to a Buddhist, that it takes approximately 6 to 7 years for them to conceptually really get it.
Wow.
Yeah.
But the thing that's amazing, you guys, is that, of course, part of our team up there, once again, my secretary of 7 years married an Isan Thai. So he's from that area, and he's a solid, radical believer in Jesus. So God sent us, actually, we've done that twice now. I think we send we send people out on short-term missions, and they come back with souvenirs and a spouse. So it's a new system.
So it's a new dating service you're doing now, Craig.
I don't know how we're going to make it all work, but it's sure working for us. But so anyway, what we're doing there by reaching out to the kids and investing in an area, again, just saying, we're here. We're going to be with this small village. We now have parents and grandparents that are bringing their children to our location and going, we know you guys are Christians, but you've been pouring into our sons and daughters or grandsons and daughters so much. Part of the problem that we have there, and it's a great problem, is every day after school is out, the children of the village start showing up at the home of our missionaries, and they have activities. So what was originally planned for 2 to 3 days a week now is a 7-day-a-week ministry going on. So we're getting food. It's just been wonderful because it's upped our game as far as food and sources that we can. I don't know. You got to take a break, but I've got a great story that I can tell when we come back.
All right, Craig Smith. Craig, we'll have to wait until next time till we get together. Would love to pick up with you in the spring. We love what you guys are doing. We want folks to pick up the devotional Awake in the Dawn. Craig Smith. 100% of the book's profits go to Village to Village. You can go awakeinthedawn.com. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
This is Faith Talk Live.